All right, so we've got another great agenda planned today. As always, the agenda is only as good as the participation that we receive from you all, so I'm looking forward to some lively interaction and some great feedback and help each other as you are all trying to grow your tab businesses. We've got a lot. You can see, if for those online, usually don't have quite this many things on there, but these should be fairly quick topics in most cases, so we'll run through it. And well, this will be new for you, but I'll update you. I'm actually going to go one slide ahead. Just a reminder for everybody to make sure that you're completing your weekly data surveys. I will send you, Manuel, your personalized data link, and we ask that at the end of every week you provide a data report and submit that. You'll use the same survey link every week. It's your unique link, so don't use somebody else's. And if you just take a few minutes at the end of your week to complete that every week, it helps me kind of track how things are going and where things are moving individually as well as a group overall. And as I'm sure most of you know, the executive team here is very interested in the results that we have. So if you don't report data, I have nothing to share with them. So please help me do that and get those reports in every week. So let's start with program wins and challenges. So anybody on the line who in the last couple of weeks has had any specific or noteworthy wins or any challenges that you're facing in your business that you would love some feedback or some help with? We'll take about 10 minutes tops to go over this, so you don't have a lot of time, so if you've got something to share, please step forward.
Yeah, let me kick this off. This is Bernd. For a couple of weeks now, I'm working on a prospect. Had discovery meeting and met him and his 50-50 partner. So that worked pretty well. They asked to be guest advisor, so I invited the gentleman. The lady, she didn't have any time anyway, so he was guest advisor last week at the board meeting. And then yesterday I had an online blueprint demo with them. They seem to be fairly slow in making a decision, but I am quite optimistic to get them over the finish line. However, the question here is, it would be the first time for me to work with a 50-50 partnership, and they have kind of the impression they want to be together in the board meeting. I can certainly coach them together. But having them together in a board meeting is something which I'm more than willing to give it a try. But I certainly heard comments in the past saying that might not be the ideal situation. So any input you can provide would be greatly appreciated. How I should approach this situation.
I think that's a great topic, Bernd. Anybody have any ideas? We've talked about this a little bit in the past, but any other suggestions or ideas for Bernd as to what he might encounter having two partners on the same board? Or any experience that you have had?
Hey, Bernd, Mike Grover. Hey, I just putting perspective on. I work with businesses that are trying to exit times, and they are partners. And one of the key concerns that I deal with is that sometimes the partner is the problem. And so, I mean, not necessarily that that's this case, but just as you are having your discovery with the partners, if you can have it be like one partner have a conversation, one partner have a conversation, and then put them together, just to kind of see what that interaction is. Because if the partner is having a problem with the other partner and they're both in the same board, they're not going to be able to discuss their true, in their chest problem. So that's the only piece of information I would throw out there.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I guess that's one of the main reasons why I have a concern. If I get them over the finish line, my idea here at the moment is to say, without any prejudice, I'm going to put you both on the same board. But what I would like to do, at least initially during coaching, is that they have that they both take the business diagnostics separately, and they both separately take the DISC and the driving forces assessment. That gives me the opportunity to debrief them individually and really understand on a one-to-one basis, not on a one-to-two basis, the differences between those two. And I guess then after that, I would have more information to really judge much better how both of them on one board would work together. That's my idea here at the moment. Does that make any sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does to me, Bernd. And that gives you an opportunity to, like, if you're going to do the DISC, there's no real reason to have both of them in the room when you're going to do the DISC program profiles. So that might be when you go through the DISC, and then maybe even start talking about the business as a whole. And one of the things that we always look at is how are you getting along with your partner? Why don't you just kind of fill in the blanks there for me, and then just kind of keep it open and see what they say. Because if they kind of lean, if they're being very close to the best, you're going to be able to see the body language, and that it'll just kind of give you a little sense for what's the dynamic there.
Yeah. No, that's good. Thanks, Mike.
Valerie, did I hear you trying to jump in as well?
I did. I was. You said it's a man and a woman. Are they husband and wife?
No, they're not. They are not. Go ahead.
What I was going to suggest, Ben, is that this has been the topic of the hotline many times. So if you search the hotline, I think you will find multiple references to this topic.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah, I will do that. Definitely. They are partners now for the last probably 10, if not 12 years, just about. If I remember the numbers correctly. But they start talking about exit planning, and both of them are saying, yeah, we want to exit here in 5 to 7 years, something like this. So they seem to have common goals. At least that's what I could gather during the discovery meeting I had. But I've made another appointment with them. I'm going to meet them in 2 weeks, and I want to give them a little bit of a proposal of how we're going to work this out here at the beginning. And I think that's what I'm going to do, the way I just described it. All right, thanks.
Very good. Any other big wins or challenges that anyone would like to share? We've got just a couple more minutes, so please don't delay if you've got something you'd like to share.
This is Steve. I signed a member, a smaller guy, and I'm more of a limited engagement. I had a really good discovery meeting with him last week and a good RFA, and I had reservations about him, and actually I still do. I think he'd be a good fit. I'm not sure if he'd be a great fit, and I shared those with him. And when we came to the end of the RFA, I told him that. I said, I think you'd get a lot of value out of this. I think it'd be good. I said, I'd like to get a little further. I'm going to give you the materials, but I'd like to get a little further down the road before I actually get a commitment and a check from you. And that seemed to go over really well with him.
Well, congratulations, Steve, on moving that prospect to that decision point. And I think what you're doing is very, very wise, as we've talked before. But could you share a little bit more about what went into your decision to delay actually signing the membership application and getting that commitment at that moment when he was ready to go?
Yeah, he's got. He's in his 40s. He's been around the block and done a good variety of things, and I feel like he's got good exposure. But he started out last year on the entrepreneurial road, starting a financial planning company, and I was rather impressed with the way he put it together and with what he's got going so far, but he doesn't really have employees. I don't know that he's going to have employees, and I think he'd get a lot of value from a board of business owners, but I'm not sure how much value he'd bring, not having had that real personal relevant experience. That was kind of my main reservation, and I told him I wanted to make sure that he would be a good fit with the other people, that it would be a two-way street and not just really an opportunity for him, but nothing to contribute.
Very good. Yeah, I think you're clearly communicating the mutual selection process and that you're evaluating him as much as he's evaluating Tab, and I think that just really strengthens your position and definitely moves you out of that sales guy position because you weren't ready to just sign him right away. So well done. Any other comments or feedback for Steve? Well, congratulations again. Go ahead, Valerie.
Just nice move. Yeah.
Yep.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Well, let us know the final outcome of that when it comes about. Are you scheduled to meet with him again? Is that already on the calendar?
Yeah, I at that point I scheduled a coaching session, which is next week, and that'll be the first one, an hour and a half session. We're going to kind of dig into a lot of the things, and then really move forward towards a board meeting.
Awesome. Well, like I said, keep us up to date, and congratulations again. I think that was just very well done, handled very, very well.
Thank you.
All right, last minute or so, anybody have a quick thing that they'd like to share around wins or any challenges? All right, very good. The next thing that I'd just like to touch base, I've had several conversations over the last couple of weeks around owner-to-owner calls, and if I'm totally transparent, which I try to be as much as I can be, I've been a little disappointed in the attendance that we've had on the owner-to-owner sprint calls, and I understand the schedules are busy and all that, and I also understand that I contributed to that last week by not being able to host those calls. So I'm definitely not trying to put any undue pressure or anything like that. I just want to encourage you, whether you're doing it on the owner-to-owner sprints or otherwise, that you're making meaningful calls every week. Now, keep in mind, we are never, ever, 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 ever going to ask you to make a cold call as a business owner. You should not be making cold calls. You should not be going from a generic list or a contact list and just randomly calling people on that list. That is not the intent behind these calls. You should be identifying key prospects that you've had communication with or contact with through other channels, through other opportunities, and following up, using these owner-to-owner sprints to follow up with the intent of scheduling a meeting. So these are not intended to be random calls. Every phone call should have intention behind it. And the only way that I've found to really become effective at owner-to-owner calls is to do them. And there is power in coming together as a community to do this at the same time. There is a camaraderie that takes place. There are others who need that support, need that knowledge that they're not in this alone when they're going through these calls, to help them push through and get better at this skill set. So as much as you can, I would encourage you to try to attend at least one owner-to-owner sprint each week. Again, I understand how hectic and busy schedules can get, but this is a great time for us to learn together and to leverage the combined knowledge of those that are on the call to provide encouragement and support and really participate with other TBOs in helping them grow their business. So just my final little plug, we've got one this afternoon, as you know, that starts at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And then every week they go Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The times are on the screen. Manuel, I don't believe I've sent you the invites, the calendar invites for these meetings, but that will be going out this week to you so you can get these on the calendar. We encourage you always to just accept these meetings and get them on there, even if you don't plan to attend or you're not able to. It just helps you as you're moving forward to be a little more intentional about blocking out time to make these calls. So as you all know, if you miss an opening call or a closing call, that's fine. If you can only participate for an hour of a sprint, that's fine. Whatever you can do to come together as a community and support each other and help us learn and get more effective at this would be greatly appreciated. So I would ask you all to, I just noticed on my slide it says 3 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time. That is one hell of a sprint. So it's actually 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time. So as much as you can, try to participate in that. And if you have any questions or need more information or have any concerns around this, please let me know. All right. I'd like to, go ahead,
Ben. I've got one thing on the appointments. I typically leave the Tuesday in. I take the other ones out and I replace them with a different appointment because they interfere. I use a product called Calendly to have other people schedule.
Yep.
And even though it's not an accepted date, it still shows up as booked in Calendly. So if anyone's using something like that, it's having those floating 3 dates every week is going to interfere with scheduling.
The only thing that I know of that you can do, and I don't know if this works in Calendly, is you can choose to show those as not busy or open on your calendar.
I can't do it with the appointments because you set the appointments, not me. So what I do is I remove the Wednesday and Thursday, I replace them with my own and show those as not busy.
So would it be helpful for everybody else if I indicated those as free time as opposed to busy time? Would that help with the calendaring issue?
I don't have an issue.
Yeah, I'm agnostic.
Okay, so it's just me. You could keep doing what you're doing. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. It's all good.
Okay, yeah, as long as it works. Again, the intent behind having those on the calendar, and you know this, Steve, and I think you're honoring that, is to just be intentional about the way that you're scheduling your calendar to make sure that you're allowing time for this every week. I was just talking to another TBO this morning, and sure, we'd like you to make several calls, but some weeks maybe there's only 5 intentional calls that you have to make. That's totally fine. I get that. I would rather you make 5 high-quality intentional calls than 20 random calls because you're going to get better results with those 5 than you ever will with the 20 random. So keep that in mind. I'm happy to talk about this with most of you anytime you want. Others, I'm tired of talking to you about owner calls. We'll move on to other subjects, but that was just a joke for at least one person on the phone. But yeah, let's work through this and make a commitment to attending these sprints wherever you can. I know that there are a few that are very faithful and they've noticed the drop off in attendance. I've noticed it, and I think it just really does a disservice to those that are attending, and I think we can all learn so much. So, all right. So let's move on a little bit, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about the sales process, the TAB sales protocols. And the intent of this meeting is it's primarily going to be a complete review for all of you, and I do that on purpose, but we're just going to go over how the system works together. And then over the next few weeks, we might dig into parts of the protocols in a little more detail. But I just want to make sure that we all understand how this system is designed to work together and where there are flexibilities within it so that you can adapt it to meet your own particular preferences, personality, style, all of those things. So the first step in the protocol, of course, is to set the appointment. It might be a discovery meeting appointment, it might be a 22Q meeting appointment, or it might be an event that you're hosting. Whatever it is in the protocol, obviously we can't enter somebody into our sales process without that initial meeting. So that's the starting point for the sales process. The next step in the process is to keep that appointment, and there are lots of ways to do that. We can call to confirm, we can send an email, calendar invite to get them to commit to that appointment. Everybody has their own style. We can talk in the future about what are best practices around doing things to make that appointment sticky. But the next step in the process, once it's scheduled, is to actually have that appointment and keep it. Then, once we show up at the appointment, there's specific protocol, depending on what type of meeting it is, that we have provided to help you complete that appointment. Maybe it's the discovery meeting protocol, maybe it's the 22Q meeting protocol, maybe it's in a sample board protocol or something like that. But the best or most effective execution of that appointment is to know what you're going to do going into the meeting, set clear expectations around the meeting, and follow through and just have a great meeting. The better this initial meeting, of course, the more likely that prospect is to move forward. And that is the next step in the sales process, is to convert the prospect forward. And you've heard Phil and I both a lot, you own forward progress for all prospects. It's not up to them to tell you when they're ready to go forward. It's up for you to lead them forward in that process. So at the end of the discovery meeting, you're clearly describing what the next step in the process looks like. Let's get together for another 45 to 60 minutes. I'd like to learn more about your business, dig deeper into your business. I'd love to hear any thoughts you have about TAB. And at the end of that meeting, we'll know and we'll have a better idea of what the right next step for you would be. Or if it's the end of the 22Q meeting, maybe it's a great coaching-only prospect, maybe it's a great board prospect, maybe it's a great strategic partnership prospect. Whatever it is, at the end of that 22Q meeting, you clarify what you intend the next step to be so that everybody's on the same board or on the same plane. And if it's the end of an event and you're trying to convert event prospects into membership, what's their next step? It's probably a 22Q meeting, maybe it's something else, but you need to make that clear at the end of the event so that the prospect, first of all, knows how to move forward, and then you own that forward progress by scheduling the next activity. Once that next activity is scheduled, whether it's a 22Q, it's an event, maybe it's a guest advisor seat, maybe it's membership. If you've just completed your 22Q, again, your job is to keep the appointment, complete the appointment, and convert the prospect forward for that next step, whatever that might be. If it's a guest advisor, make sure that you're scheduling your follow-up time with them immediately after the board so that they don't leave without getting some kind of forward commitment. If it's an event, again, you don't want them leaving the event without the opportunity to schedule the next step forward. And if it's a 22Q, as we said already, it's defining, is this coaching only, is this membership, or is this a good partnership in the long term? And then finally, to really get good at the TAB sales protocols, you need to be able to adapt the protocols to your personal style, your personal preferences, the way that you speak versus the way that we speak, whatever fits in your part of the country, whatever the regional dialect might be. You have to be able to take these protocols and make them your own. So what we've said a lot is you need to memorize the protocol so that then you can convert it into your own. It's really hard to follow a system if you don't know what the system is, and it's really hard to adapt the system if you don't understand it. And the best way to understand the sales protocol is to memorize the various pieces of that protocol, and then you have the ability to adapt those to meet your own style and personality preferences. All right, with that, I'd like to pause and kind of open the floor for a brief discussion around any of these before I go on. Any comments or feedback? Does this make sense? Is this new? Is this a reinforcement of what you've already learned?
This is Steve. This is definitely a reinforcement of what I've already learned, kind of the hard way. Learning what the process is, what the script is, and then making it your own so it's authentic. Yep. I think that's been a bit of a struggle, and I think I'm finally kind of coming out on the other end of that, but I think it's making all the difference.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, Steve. Yep. Any other comments about the protocol or the sales system overall?
Ben, real quick, I know I've heard that there's some back and forth regarding either skipping the DM and going right to the 22Q, or kind of putting them together and having 1 hour, hour and a half meeting, and just going right into the membership. Is there any information on whether or not that's working or not, or mixed bag? Fill in the blank.
Sure. As of now, the protocol basically remains the same. We have and are beginning to encourage, instead of a 15 to 20 minute meeting for the discovery meeting, requesting 20 to 30 minutes. It's not that big of a leap. It's still a relatively small commitment for somebody who might not be comfortable giving away large chunks of their calendar, but it's probably also more realistic as far as what it's going to take to complete the discovery. It gives you a little more time for rapport building, a little more time to allow those folks who have a lot of stories to share or like to answer questions with stories. It gives you the ability to kind of manage the time more effectively and not feel so rushed. For some reason, mentally, there's a different mindset around 20 to 30 minutes as there is to 15 to 20 minutes. So that is one minor change, but generally overall, the system remains the same. There are some that are testing going straight to a 22Q type meeting, and I haven't seen any data yet on the success or lack thereof, or any changes in the likelihood of signing a member. I am a firm believer in my own life of touch points with prospects, that we need to create touch points and have routine, regular interaction with somebody before they're ever going to make a buying decision or an investment in the services we're offering. And so creating or finding additional touch points, I think, is always valuable, whether it's whether you decide to keep a discovery or just go straight to the 22Q, always looking for more touch points. In my own experience, I've found that 6 to 8 touch points is usually what it took for me to be able to get somebody to a decision point on whether they want to sign with me or not. It's really important for you to kind of gauge what yours is, how many touch points you require to get somebody to move forward to a decision. But again, not really a specific answer to your question, Mike. As far as I know, I do know that the protocols have not changed, that the system has not changed, but there is some testing going
on. Great. I just wanted kind of like an update on where we were with that. Thank you.
Yep.
Just to kind of add to that, when I do events, I certainly try to meet with people before to do kind of like a little discovery meeting, but it's not always possible. So when I schedule meetings with them for after, it's kind of like I kind of have to mash up the discovery meeting a little bit with the RF 22Q, because at the events I don't talk price. I found that I did that early on, and that was kind of a mistake. So I have to have like a little introduction. What did you, so there's the process. What are your thoughts on it? And let me tell you about how membership works, and then launch in.
Right. Yeah, I think that's exactly what you should be doing. At following an event, you should probably just blend the discovery and the 22Q together. regardless of whether you've had that discovery in the first place. And I really like what you do also, Steve, with the issues brief. If you're not able to meet with somebody prior to an event, sending the issue brief and getting a commitment from them to send that back to you obviously showed its value to you at your last event, and I think is a great way to, again, create another touch point, another connection with that prospect. So there are lots of ways to do that. I just encourage you to be thinking about how you can create meaningful engagements with each of your prospects throughout this process. All right, so as we move forward, the questions that we often hear or that we come across are what ifs, what to do if. What do I do if I'm not converting prospects forward? So just real quick, we're not going to spend more than about a minute on each of these. Just a quick shout out if you've got an idea or something that someone should look at. If they say to you, well, I'm just not converting my prospects forward. I can't get people to commit to an RFA or a 22Q meeting. I can't get people to sign once I have the RFA. What would you say to them in 10 words or less-ish?
Zero is less than 10, right?
I think on the third point, that I can't follow the script. I would say the script is your friend, and I had an interesting experience because I've struggled a little bit with the script. I agree with the points that you have to make it yours, but I've been Jeff Pruner. He's a recent TBO, and he and I have been working together on really memorizing the script, but memorizing it not in like sounding automated, but making it mine. And I've noticed it has helped me a lot because my ratios from moving discovery meeting to RFA have improved.
Excellent. I think that's perfect, Manuel. I think that's exactly what we would hope that you would be doing is investing time to really understand and learn the protocol, learn the script, so that you can then make it truly your own. Awesome.
When I started out, I was kind of concerned about the script. So what I did is I read it into a voice recorder, and then I would play it back and read along with it until I could kind of put down the thing, and just kept doing it until I knew it exactly. I understand that doesn't work for everyone, but then after that, like getting it to where you've got it, I look at it, it's like a piece of music for any of you that play music out there. Me and Ben were talking about this the other day. You learn the music, you learn the harmony, you learn the melody, you learn it, you get it so where you can do it as written, whether it's robotic or not, and then you could start making it your own because you've got a skeleton to build on, if you will. You've got a framework, and you know where you might want to go with it. Like, all right, I'm going to throw a seventh in there, or I'm going to do this or that. But I found that was really powerful, like having that as second nature, and then I could go in whatever direction I want with it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Steve. I thought that was a great illustration of exactly what we're talking about here, and that works with any analogy, whether it's how to shoot a basketball or throw a football, or how to do a breaststroke, or how to write a book, or anything. There is a system for almost everything, but not every system works for everyone. So you really have to get to that point where you're comfortable enough with the scripted way, the process way, and then you can adapt it. And I think the music analogy beautifully illustrates that. Well, the one thing that I do know as we kind of move forward from here is if you're struggling anywhere in the sales process, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So if you're not successfully moving people from discovery to RFA, or you're not converting RFA appointments into memberships, or if you're struggling to have good quality meetings overall, or if your events aren't getting the kind of response that you want, or your owner-to-owner calls aren't producing appointments, or fill in the blank, whatever it is, wherever you're struggling in your own business development process, if you continue to do what you've always done, you should never expect the result to change. So let's work together in community, let's work together one-on-one and try to figure out how to make adjustments to the systems that you have so that you can improve the quality of your results. And one of my favorite things to point out at this point is we're not looking for massive change anywhere. We're looking for incremental change everywhere. Incremental change will produce dramatic results downstream if you continue to move the system forward. So we're not looking for monumental change. We're looking for incremental changes and ways to make things just a little better so that overall it becomes a lot better. All right, as I said, we'll continue to talk about the sales protocol. We'll dig into some of these specific areas of the protocol in more detail in coming weeks. And just be prepared and share your experiences, share your stories. We all learn best by storytelling, and so if you've got examples of where things have gone well or where things have gone off the rails in your sales process, we're all here to learn together. There's no shame in acknowledging a mistake or sharing something that didn't go well so that you can benefit yourself and others. So be thinking about that as you have experiences and as you're working with prospects, and hopefully we can share some of those successes and learning opportunities in the future. All right, I want to give plenty of time for our round robin question this week. So what we'll do is we'll go around the room and I will ask the question and each one of you will provide your response. The only thing that might be a little different this time than what we've done in the past is I might ask a clarifying question or two, or somebody from the group might do that as well. We want to make sure everybody has a chance to share, so I'll be the timekeeper and kind of keep that managed, but let's get into this. So why don't we start with we'll go in reverse order of how you joined the call today. So Steve, what would your answer be to the question, the one barrier to success that I can't seem to overcome is?
Wait, was I the last one on the call?
Well, I think it's actually one of the first. Well, maybe not. Yeah, I think you are the last one on the call. I'll
go. The one barrier to success that I can't seem to overcome is consistency. I run hot and cold. I've got a lot of other stuff going on. Getting that balance and staying consistent throughout the week is I see it and I understand that it is a barrier, and I'm having a lot of problems getting around it.
So what would you say, Steve, is the thing that interrupts your consistency the most?
Other things, distractions, other things going on, and really, to a certain extent, energizing. Knowing sometimes it's difficult for me when I've got a dry spell to get properly energized to get back into it and be consistent with follow-up, with calls, with things like that. It's distractions and energizing, just re-engaging, being able to shift gears from disparate things.
Very good. Thank you very much. Valerie, the one barrier to success that you can't seem to overcome is?
Probably for me, it's giving away time and giving away not only giving away time to demanding members, but being really inconsistent in, because some of the members don't demand extra time, and so they don't get it, and others demand it and they get it. And so I not only am giving away too much time, but I'm giving it away inconsistently. So I need to work on both those things.
Have you done anything to try to manage the time that you're investing, especially with those demanding members? Have you already tried anything?
Well, I charge them money, so that helps. If they're paying, of course, it's not giving away. So I have had a couple of members who are not tight, and I've been able to charge them for consulting time. But others are tighter, and they demand it. They demand it as part of their value. So
Yep, that makes sense.
Sometimes, sometimes I think I'm giving a little extra time to keep the member, and overall, of course, the lifetime value of the member is retention is a key part of our success, the key metric for our success. But I still am inconsistent and spending too much time outside of coaching with certain clients.
Sure. Okay. Very good. Rick Powell, the one barrier to success that you can't seem to overcome is?
All right. Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
I can barely hear myself, so hopefully you can hear me. But at any rate, when I originally typed this up, I put something that's too generic. I put have more effective conversations with better qualified prospects, but the underlying real issues are being, I think, brought up by Steve and Valerie both. I don't know that I'm giving away time to members, but I'm certainly spending a lot of time with current members. Some of them pay for it quite a bit, but still, I am spending a lot of time there, and I have a definite problem with if things aren't going the way I expect them to go in a given week, then I get kind of down on attitude and have trouble getting energized too, like Steve was describing. So those are really the underlying issues as to why I'm not having more effective conversations with better qualified prospects, probably. Sitting here thinking about it, that makes more sense than the high level one I put in it. That make sense?
It does, and although I think the high level one shouldn't be discounted, I think more effective conversations with better quality prospects. I think there are two key things that you described there that are really valuable points to dig into a little bit more. How do you make your conversations more meaningful, and how do you get how do you find higher quality prospects to have those conversations with? But managing your time with members and the amount of time that you set aside to do business development work is a big part of that as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, who's next? Mr. Grover. The one barrier to success that you can't seem to overcome is?
So we have to limit it to one. That was the first problem. I think the big one, I think both Steve and Valerie brought it up, is for me is consistency. And then when I pull that thread, it's I'm not giving the right energy to the right priorities. So I'm allowing that, as Covey would say, the quadrant 1, possibly even quadrant 4 stuff, more energy than it deserves, and therefore I'm not having enough quote unquote time to spend on the urgent importance. And I have also an argument with myself sometimes between getting money on a month-to-month basis and the principles of building my tab business better. So that's a secondary component, but energy and the right to lend more consistency.
Sure. So again, same kind of question. Have you done anything, or have you taken any actions to try to help you really stay in that urgent, important, or important, not urgent kind of categories?
No. Is that a problem? Yeah. No. Yeah. Of course. So first is awareness. Noticing that I'm doing that, and unfortunately that's a reactive versus a proactive method where I get to the end of the week and go, son of a bitch, I didn't do the stuff I told myself I was going to do. So yeah, just basically being more deliberate. And for me, I think I just need to spend that Monday a little bit more specifically to make sure that I'm planning out my week a little bit more. Really is the word that keeps coming up. So that would be my answer.
Okay. Well, there's one victory in that. At least you're consistently being inconsistent.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, Bernard, how about you? The one barrier to success that I can't seem to overcome is?
All right, let's talk about consistency for a moment. Consistency is not a problem for me. I consistently waste time, so that works great for me. So my issue is, and Ben, you know that we have discussed that in the past. I'm a process guy. I have very high expectations of myself and efficiencies. But that kind of gets me lost in the detail, and it really is getting lost in the detail. That's the one barrier of success I see, which ultimately leads to wasting time, not having enough time for the things I should rather do. To be honest, but it's I don't know if it's OCD or whatever it is, but it's just in my DNA. We spoke about doing a lot for our members. I think I'm right up there as well, doing a lot for our members, out of a sense of commitment to the members, out of the attempt to solicit more business out of the members, which in some cases works, in others not so well. I haven't given up on that. A few members, they really need more help than just being on a board, something like a strategic planning workshop or something with their entire team. But I prepare for these things. I write quotes. It takes time for me to put these things together. Then I look what sort of material is available from TAB. Some is available, other is not available, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to list any more about these, but it's consistently getting lost in the details, and kind of the issue at hand at that moment, unfortunately, falls by the wayside.
Yeah, Bern, thank you for that. Thanks for describing that as well as you did and helping us really understand. I love the way you start. I consistently waste time. That's awesome. Yeah. We'll continue to work on that as well.
Right.
All right, Manuel, you're going to wrap it up for us. What is the one barrier to success that you can't seem to overcome?
I guess, there's a couple, so I'll just focus on one. And it's my high C sometimes gets in the way of doing that small talk, that chit chat. I could use some better improvement in building that rapport through small talk and that sort of thing. So I think that's one of the things where I have an area of opportunity.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. I really that is a high value item that you just shared, because I think it's so critically important to the overall process. I'm just curious, as you've gone through this meeting with prospects several times, have you been able to identify anything that you can do that helps you be more mindful of building that rapport early on?
Yes. I have, and I have that's because I know it's a barrier. I've read a couple of books or poked into a couple of books. One is called The Science of Likability. Some really good insights there. Instead of asking, what do you do? What do you enjoy the most, or where did you, where are you from? Is tell me, some memory of the place where you grew up. So that kind of brings them into a happy place, and it shows that you care, and then it kind of creates that emotional bond with somebody, and that's one of the things that, like, again, logically I know, and now it's putting that into practice as I come into the discovery meetings and talk to people. So
sure, yeah, I really like that question. That's awesome, and the power behind something like that, I could see making a big difference. Being able to really emotionally begin to build that connection with somebody from the very first question you asked. Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. I'm actually interested in that book. I might go try to find it on Amazon.
And then, if I may, Valerie, this topic came up yesterday, and I'll share it because I think it might be helpful. It helped me a lot. In those cases where members don't have the money, or they're strapped for cash to do additional consulting, then it could be in terms of referrals. Hey, introduce me to 2 or 3 business owners that you think could benefit from something like this. So, you're getting value, or they're getting value of your time, and then they might not have the money to pay for it, but they're giving it in kind with office space, referrals, introductions, whatever the case may be. So,
thank you. That's an excellent suggestion. Thank you.
I agree. That's really good. Yep.
And Manuel, can we get the name of that book again?
It's called The Science of Likability, and I want to say the author is Patrick King. I found it on Amazon. And some of those things are, like, once you start looking at it and reading it, some of those are like very, very obvious, but it takes time to really put them in motion. So.
Very good. And those are the kind of recommendations that really help. You identify a problem, and here's something that I've done to help me overcome it. I think it's really, really helpful. So thanks for that. And those are the kinds of things, as we work through going back a little bit in our agenda, as we work through the protocols and the sales process, where you have sticking points in that process, let's talk about it and bring it to the table and include it in this discussion and help each other learn. I think that will only make us all better, and will strengthen the brand overall over time. So great. We've got about 2, maybe 3 minutes left for an open discussion topic or question or suggestion. So I'll open it up. With the limited time, please don't be shy. If you've got something to add at the end of our meeting here, please do so at this time. All right, well then I'll add something. Just a reminder that those weeks when I'm not able to facilitate meetings, or we miss a coaching session, those are actually great opportunities for you individually to develop some sustainability in what we're working through to help you grow your businesses. It's a great way for you to figure out how you can begin to hold yourself accountable, how you can put things in place to keep you on track. Because there will always be seasons in our lives where we feel like we're not connected, or we're not able to get the support that we want or need, and yet we are still responsible for our own successes and our own execution. So please take advantage of those weeks when we're not able to keep some of the regularly scheduled activities, and use that as a way to make sure that you are building a sustainability model for your business, so that when you're moving forward out of this program, or we're not coaching together anymore, you're still well equipped to keep things moving forward and help and continuing to help your business grow. So with that, 30 seconds. Any last comments? All right, very good. Well, thanks everyone for participating in today's call. Again, your participation made this worthwhile, and I think we had some great learning opportunities. We will meet again next Thursday, same time, 12 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, 12 o'clock Eastern. And we'll have another great group coaching call. In the meantime, don't forget about the sprint this afternoon that starts at 3 p.m. and all the activities next week, and I'll be touching base with each one of you in our coaching sessions between now and then.
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. You too.